What's up, guys? Ben here. I usually talk about medical Spanish, but today I'm going to share some really basic vocab, specifically some essential Spanish prepositions. So if you're trying to learn Spanish, all the words I'm going to share today are definitely worth learning. So it looks like it's a total of 13. So I've got 13 essential Spanish prepositions. So I'll share each one. I'll say it a couple times or so, and I'll share it in a little phrase. Maybe not a long sentence because that might get too confusing if you're a beginner, but I'll share it at least in a little phrase that could be sort of a building block that you can use to make more complicated sentences down the road. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the list. So the first preposition that I want to share is de. De. So that's de if you're an English speaker. So they, as you probably learned in high school Spanish or whatever, it can mean of or from. And a phrase, which is also a sentence, might be soy de Missouri. Soy de Missouri. I'm from Missouri. So de, of or from. So it actually fits in a lot of different phrases and sentences, and you'll see it all the time. The next preposition I want to share is a. A. So that's also just a letter, right? The letter A for an English speaker. So, and it's always pronounced a, but if it's all by itself, then it can mean to or at. To as in to or at. So a good phrase for that, voy a mi casa. I'm going to my house, or I go to my house. So of course there's other contexts for all of these, but I'll just share at least one phrase for each one. So a. So we've done de and a. The next one I wanted to share is en. En. So en means in or on. El libro en la mesa, the book on the table. Not the best sentence in the world. It's not a full sentence, I guess, but anyway, it means in or on. En la mesa would be on the table. En la ciudad would be in the city. So there's a couple different contexts for you. Next, we've got para. So para is often compared with por and para, but para specifically means for, and often kind of shows a direction, like for someone or towards this thing. So para, for. So para mí means for me. El regalo es para mí. The gift is for me. Another way that you could use it, though, it could be, you could say like para ganar, in order to win. So that's like a different meaning, kind of. But just so you know, that's just a couple of the ways that para can be used. So for a person or in order to do something. But the main translation usually is for. The next word is con. Con. Con means with. Voy con mi amigo. I'm going with my friend. Con. Next, we've got por. So por and para are often compared with each other. We talked about para. If it's for a person, you'd say para él, for him. But if it's por, so por, which can be translated as for or through or by. So if you work for the hospital, yo trabajo por el hospital. So I work on their behalf. I'm working for them. If you're doing something in place of someone, voy a trabajar por Gonzalo. I'm going to work in place of Gonzalo. I'm going to work for him. So those are a couple of examples, and there are lots more out there. You can find a million different sentences and different ways those could be used, but that's just kind of your basic introduction to that. The next one is sobre. Sobre. So sobre can be a noun. It could mean envelope, but we're talking about the preposition. So sobre means on top of or about. You can say I'm talking about something, and it could be sobre. Sobre el tema, about the theme, like whatever the theme of your conversation is, but also sobre la mesa, on top of the table, on the table. So various meanings, so about or on top of is what sobre means. The next one is como. Como. So como means like, as a preposition. So you say like, like the other car, como el otro carro, and then, finish the sentence. Like. It can also mean how, right? But that's a different meaning. So that's not a preposition anymore. When you say, how do you do it? Like, como se hace, or something like that. The next preposition I'm going to share is hasta. Hasta. So hasta means until. So hasta la otra semana. Until next week. Hasta martes. Until Tuesday. So hasta, super useful. Then we've got, earlier I shared con. Well, what's the opposite of con? Con meant with. So what about without? How do you say without? Sin. So S-I-N, sin. Sin mantequilla, without butter. If you're going to say like bread without butter or something. Or sin conocimiento, without knowledge. Without anything, you know. So it's super useful, obviously. Desde. So we talked earlier about de, which can mean of or from. Desde is a little bit similar because it means since or from. So like since a certain time is a common usage. So desde el año pasado, since last year. Or desde el año 2000, since the year 2000. And that's basically how it's used. It's usually used with time for the most part. The next one would be según él. According to him. So it means according to. So it's really useful when you're talking about people like he said, she said. According to her, según ella. And then you could say whatever. And then we've got one more preposition. So the very last one on this list of 13 essential Spanish prepositions is contra. Contra. Contra means against. Contra mí, against me. Contra él, against him. La guerra contra, the war against, fill in the blank. So there you have it, 13 essential Spanish prepositions. And if you want to learn a little bit more about basic Spanish, I've got this video right here that goes over Spanish pronunciation, everything you need to know about Spanish pronunciation. And if you want to start learning about medical Spanish, I've got actually a long playlist right here about dialogues for the emergency room. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.